So if you saw my previous video on this Bentley, you saw where I was having problems with it cutting off on me, stalling out on me, and I decided to go into the gas tank and pull the fuel pumps, and I realized there was more sugar in the gas tank. So I proceeded to clean this thing with water, and I let it dry out for a few days, and now it's time for reassembly. So it's been 2 days since I flushed this gas tank out with the water. I've been letting it dry, force feeding air into it with a fan, letting it vent. And as you can see, it's pretty dry down in there. Let's check out the passenger side. As you can see over here on the passenger side, it's nice and clean and dry too. There might be some traces of water in here. We're going to put some heat in here, which will absorb that water, and eventually will just burn up with the gasoline. And of course, I'm going to have to put fresh gasoline in here because obviously there's no gasoline in here. What I'm going to do first is I'm actually going to pour a little bit of gas in to see if we can wash any water down from the back of the tank where the filler neck is. And then I'll look at it, see if there's any water in there I can pump out by hand. And then I'm going to go ahead and start putting these pumps back in. So I believe once I get these pumps and everything squared away and the tank back together, I don't believe we'll have any more issues with the fuel system. So now we've got the tank all nice and clean and flushed out and got all that sugar out. We got our pumps back assembled, and it's time to go ahead and put these things back in. So here you have the fuel pump installed. All the fuel lines are hooked up. This is the driver's side. This is the passenger side. As you can see, there's a bunch of fuel lines there. So the next step is to hook up the electrical connections to these caps that go in these holes, put the seals in, put the snap ring in, and this will be done. So as you can see, we have our electrical connections hooked back up. So our next step is we're going to add some fresh 93 octane to this thing. We're going to cycle those pumps, and we're going to flush some of that gasoline back through the fuel filter again before we attempt to start it. So what that'll do is that'll help flush some of the water that might be remaining in the system out. And we're going to add some heat to this. That's a water dryer. It'll take water out of your gasoline. It's also like an antifreeze for your gasoline lines. We're going to put some of that in there when we put the gasoline in. There's trace amounts of water in here, of course. I've dried most of it out, but there's very, very small trace amounts, and that should help get all that out of there. So next we're going to add some of this heat. It's got isopropyl alcohol in it that'll mix with the water, and that'll make it to where that water will actually burn up. So I've cycled these pumps, flushed some of this gasoline out, maybe about half a gallon, as you can see here. Might be a little hard to see. There's a little bit of residue water in there that came out of the tank, which is good. That's why we wanted to flush it. So since I've already got this fuel filter disconnected and I've already flushed through it several times, I'm just going to go ahead and install this brand new filter. This is a man fuel filter. I thought he just did liquor reviews. I guess he makes fuel filters too. So we got the new fuel filter in. We got the gas in. Next thing to do is to fire this thing up and see how she runs. Well, it would help if we put our relays back in, I think. So we got our 2 relays for our fuel pumps. We're going to go ahead and put those back in. They just snap in, pretty simple, right here, easy access. Now we can go try to start this thing. Pretty normal for having air in the system. And there she is. She fires up. She runs smooth. I've got that running gear fault there. I'm not exactly sure what that is. It kind of comes and goes. I might actually have to break down and buy a Volkswagen specific scan tool. And that way I'll have access to dealership level software, and that way I can figure out what exactly that running gear code is. Now, a regular old scan tool won't do it. It really just basically, like the one that I have, it does, you know, check engine lights, transmission fault codes, and that's about it. Don't really do airbags, ABS, or any of that kind of stuff. And on a car like this, you really kind of need dealership level software, so you can read those codes like that, because these things are so complicated. And of course they make it like that, so you have to take it to the dealership. Well, I'm not going to take it to the dealership. I believe I can get a scan tool for about 80 bucks. And it basically is a generic, basically a generic clone of the actual factory scan tool and software. So I might have to buy that, and we're going to get this thing back down on the ground, and we're going to try to drive it around a little bit. And we're definitely going to run some of this gas through there. It seems to be running fine. It revs up nice and smooth, not making any noise or anything. It's got about 4 gallons of gas in there right now. But some of that, I'm going to try to let that cycle through a little bit, try to get that down. Maybe a couple more gallons, and then I'll go put some more gas in here. You guys might have noticed my new floor mat. It's a recycled post office box. And nothing says classy like a post office box floor mat, especially in a Bentley. So it's purring like a kitten. I thought this thing was running good before, but man, it sounds like it's running even better now, which makes a lot of sense, seeing that those socks and the fuel pumps were clogged up. It probably wasn't getting the correct amount of fuel pressure. Now it's getting what it should be getting. So it just, I don't know, it just, to me, it just sounds better. Like I said, it didn't run bad before. So I have a little bit of confidence in this thing now, so we're going to drive it around and try to burn some of this gas up. And I think all of our fuel issues are finally solved. Make sure you check out my other videos on this Bentley. like, share, and make sure you click the subscribe button below and click the bell. And if you're not already, make sure you're following me on Facebook and Instagram.